This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. The top U.S. intelligence officials put on a united front at the White House Thursday to show their concerns about upcoming elections. They sent a stern warning Russian cyber hackers and others want to interfere in our elections once again. CBN's national security correspondent Eric Rosales gives us a closer look.
Standing with the Trump administration power players, ranging from the director of the FBI to the national security advisor, Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats sounded the alarm. He said Russia is just a keyboard click away from a major election hack.
We continue to see a pervasive messaging campaign by Russia to try to weaken and divide the United States. These efforts are not exclusive to this election or future elections, but certainly cover issues relevant to the election.
In a rare show of united force, the national security leader stood in front of the White House press corps to blast Russia and talk about potential implications.
Any moment is just a moment before, the dial can be turned up one, much as we saw in 2016. Again, not in terms of affecting the vote count, but in terms of potential penetration of voter registration databases or something like that.
Our democracy itself is in the crosshairs.
They shared a laundry list of what we face, from attempts to suppress voting to illegal campaign funding to cyber attacks. The warning comes just days after Facebook shut down dozens of fake accounts, like those targeting hot-button social issues, part of a sophisticated campaign to influence Americans. Coats pointed straight at Russia, adding the orders often come from Vladimir Putin himself.
Russia has used numerous ways in which they want to influence through media, social media, through bots, through actors that they hire, through proxies, all of the above and potentially more.
Each brought up the importance of the government intelligence community partnering with social media and technology companies, providing them with classified briefings so that they can better monitor their platforms and protect our democracy. Eric Rosales, CBN News, Washington.
A group of black pastors have come under intense fire for meeting the president at the White House this week to discuss prison reform. Hundreds of African-American Christians took to social media accusing the black leaders of selling their soul to Trump. Now some of those who were at that meeting have responded. Our George Thomas brings us more on the controversy.
God, we thank you for an opportunity to speak about the hearts of those who sometimes cannot fight for themselves.
The reaction was fast and furious, and it erupted on social media moments after John Gray, pastor of a mega church in Greenville, South Carolina, was asked by the president to open a meeting at the White House in prayer.
Dr. King said, we cannot influence a table that we are not seated at.
Gray, along with a small group of other black and Hispanic pastors, was invited by Mr. Trump to discuss efforts to reform America's prison system and other issues. But their meeting got a visceral reaction from many quarters, including from fellow African-American Christians, who called the pastors and other participants shameless and contemptible for taking part in the event. Hundreds of people took to Gray's social media accounts, venting their anger. "I'm so disappointed with you," wrote one person on Gray's Instagram account. Another said, "I have lost all respect for him as a pastor." Gray, who says he has been critical of the administration's immigration and other policies, posted a video on social media after his meeting with the president, defending his decision to go.
"I did not go as a politician, nor did I go under partisan rhetoric. I'm not a Democrat, nor a Republican, nor an independent. I'm a Christian. If there's anybody who thinks they're above praying for people who sometimes they may not agree with, then you don't have the heart of Christ."
Still, some of Gray's fellow African-American preachers are accusing him and other participants of selling out and tap dancing for the president at the expense of the black community. But it was perhaps this comment from Pastor Darrell Scott of Ohio, who was at the meeting with Mr. Trump, that got the most negative reaction.
To be honest, this is probably going to be and I'm going to say this at this table, the most pro-black president that we've had in our lifetime, because, and I try to, analyze the people that I encounter. This president actually wants to prove something to our community, our faith-based community and our ethnic community. The last president didn't feel like he had to. He felt like he didn't have to prove. He got a pass.
Bishop Harry Jackson also attended the event. He told CBN's Charlene Aaron that despite the intense blowback, he believes it was the right thing to do.
You can't be a prophet to the culture while you're standing outside of the room. Many of the people who came in to that meeting knew that they would be misunderstood, disrespected, lied on, talked about, but they came anyway.
President Trump said his meeting with the inner city pastors was one of many steps his administration was taking to address the enormous challenges of reforming the country's prison system. George Thomas, CBN News.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo pushed Turkey today for the release of American pastor Andrew Brunson. Pompeo met with the Turkish foreign minister in Singapore during a conference on security in Southeast Asia. His remarks come just 2 days after the Trump administration slapped sanctions on Turkey's justice and interior ministers over Brunson's case. Pompeo told reporters the Turks are on notice. The clock had run out and that it was time for the pastor to be returned. And he hopes that Turkey will understand the administration's actions show the U.S. is very serious about Brunson's case. Here now is a look at some of the other major headlines we're following for you today inside the CBN newsroom. Another primary election over with a big win for U.S. Representative Marsha Blackburn, who won the Republican primary for U.S. Senate in Tennessee Thursday. Blackburn has run in support of Trump's agenda, including his wall-building immigration crackdown and his U.S. Supreme Court pick, Brett Kavanaugh. Blackburn could become the first female U.S. Senator ever elected in the state of Tennessee. She's up against former Governor Phil Bredesen in the general election. President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and his legal team will decide within a week to 10 days whether Trump will sit down for an interview with Robert Mueller. Politico reports Giuliani said they are studying the proposal from Mueller over which requests Trump about possible efforts to obstruct the FBI's investigation of Russia's contact with the Trump campaign. Mueller's proposal would also allow Trump to provide written answers to some of those inquiries. Apple has become the first publicly traded company to be valued at $1 trillion. The milestone reached yesterday marks the latest triumph of a trend-setting company that began 42 years ago. Apple sits at the top of the U.S. stock market, ahead of Amazon, Google's parent Alphabet, Microsoft, and Facebook. Now, for more on these stories and others throughout the day, you can always visit cbnnews.com. Firefighters are working nonstop to put out the deadly car wildfire raging in Northern California. It's responsible for burning down more than 1,000 homes around Redding. Fortunately, members of the faith community have stepped in to help. Bethel Church, which is located in Redding, has been set up as a distribution center. The humanitarian organization Mercy Chefs is on site preparing restaurant-quality meals for the victims, volunteers, and the first responders. CBN News interviewed founder and president of Mercy Chefs, Gary LeBlanc, by Skype.
Well, we have volunteers from the church that are working with our chefs today. We have chefs from Chicago and just outside of D.C. We have one from Houston and one from Oklahoma here with us today. So they're working with the teams here, and we're working very hard. We're putting out about 2,000 meals a day.
Mercy Chef has the goal of feeding the body and the soul. LeBlanc says they come with a message that can satisfy people for eternity, the gospel of Jesus Christ. Well, still ahead, what do you do when you feel like everything is going against you? We're going to bring you a look at ordinary people who didn't give up in the face of some tough times, and instead, they turned to God. We're going to have a look at their stories when we come back. Here's a question to consider. Where is God when your world is falling apart? Do you feel like He is not listening or doesn't care about your situation or circumstance? In CBN's newest book, Rise Up, Stories of Remarkable Faith and Relentless Courage, you'll read about ordinary people whose circumstances caused them to fall into God's hands and who were given the faith and courage to rise above their trials. Joining us now to talk about the lives of these ordinary people is one of the book's contributors, John Jessup. So, John, what inspired you to be a part of this project?
Ephraim, it was an opportunity to collaborate with the likes of George Thomas and Abigail Robertson, so who wouldn't want to be a part of a project like that? Last year, I was approached by a CBN colleague, Ben Stroop, who had this idea, and it was one that was easy to rally around. It was an idea that we wanted to spark a flame. We wanted to start a movement and inspire people to know that they can essentially be the hero of their own stories. Everyone loves a good story, and everyone has a story to tell. Their stories are unfolding. And really what we wanted to show them is that life can be hard, that there are trials and there are tests, there are hills and valleys, but we are one decision away from a life-altering choice to have victory. And that victory, of course, for us as believers comes through Jesus Christ. He gives us victory to overcome any situation that comes our way. So he can turn our midnights into day, he can turn our messes into masterpieces, and that's the real message of this book. So who wouldn't want to be a part of a project that communicates that message?
Indeed. There are many inspirational books on the market. Check out any bookstore. How do you feel that Rise Up is different from some of those other books out today?
I think what makes Rise Up so unique is it's the story of anyone and everyone. We're looking at ordinary people. Each chapter introduces you to a person who could be your next door neighbor, whether you live in the heartland or if you're overseas in the Middle East. We have stories that tell how people escaped tragic circumstances, or they faced a crisis of some sort where they needed dramatic healing. So these stories aren't stories that are outstanding in the sense that, look at my huge life failure or my huge big success. These are stories that I think anyone can relate to. Oftentimes when we're trying to find ways or the keys to success, we'll look at successful people like a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates or an Oprah Winfrey. And not to say you can't glean wisdom from them, you certainly can. But these are stories that I think anyone can relate to. So I think that's one of the things that makes this book so unique.
Speaking of those stories, what story would you say in the book impacted you the most?
Gosh, Ephraim, there's so many good ones. I think the one that strikes me the most is the story about Cody. He was a troubled teen who came from a broken family. He ended up finding a family of sorts in a life of drugs and hanging out with the wrong crowd. And his life devolved to the point where he was on the streets. He was eating out of garbage cans, never had an opportunity to have shelter above his head. And one day, hungry and down and out and smelly because he wasn't able to take a shower, he was invited to a church where they were serving meals, and he encountered a woman who showed him the love of Christ, who gave him a hug and said, "It looks like you need a hug." And that set him on a life-changing course where he became a Christian. His addiction, he was freed from that almost immediately, and now he's back on the streets helping the same people that he once lived among. He's basically gone back to remember and honor the lifestyle that he came from and serve in ministry role there.
All right, John, thank you so much for being with us. Much appreciated. Once again, the book is called Rise Up. It is available wherever books are sold.
Thank you.
Up next, we're going to take a look at a new movie. It's out today. Christopher Robin, I sat down with the stars of the film. We've got the story coming up right after this. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. Our favorite characters from the 100-Acre Wood are coming to a theater near you today. And actor Ewan McGregor is an all-grown-up Christopher Robin reunited with Winnie the Pooh and the gang. I sat down with both of them to bring you this look at this new Disney film. Our favorite teddy bear moves from the pages of books to the big screen.
A woozle at work is going to eat him for breakfast.
With filmmaker Mark Forrester in the director's chair. Here we sit in 2018. How do you make Winnie the Pooh relevant today?
Yeah, it's almost 100 years ago when he was created. Yeah. And he has, there's this so iconic figure who just is, in my opinion, timeless. Because he has humor, he has wisdom, he has his playfulness like a kid, but at the same time he has warmth and love. And I think even the red sweater sort of presents the heart and the love. And I think that is something we need more than ever.
Pooh? Christopher Robin.
No. You can't be here. This can't be happening.
So how much fun did you have making this movie?
Well, I was allowed to do my own stunts. And sometimes even on purpose. Oh, before we keep going, you wouldn't happen to have any honey, would you?
Oh, I'm fresh out. So sorry.
You can't just keep saying hello to people. People can't see you moving and talking.
But why?
Because you're different. And people don't like things that are different.
So I shouldn't be me.
No, you should always be yourself.
No, this is very confusing.
Christopher Robin is all grown up. What's happened to him?
He's not having a very good time at the beginning of the film. He's fought through the Second World War, and he's come back home to his wife and his daughter, who's 7, and he's not very connected.
We're introduced to a wife now, and how is she handling this?
I think, well, she's, like many wives at that time, left behind.
And the game is called Say What You See. You first, panic, worry, catastrophe.
Speed, danger, recklessness, disgrace.
So, Eeyore, what drew you to this project?
Well, it's not like I'm that busy anyway.
How much fun did you have making the movie?
Define fun.
Stick with me, Piglet, I'll fix it. You worry too much.
We'll never get to Christopher now.
Maybe we should ask if anyone's seen a bear or a tiger or a very small donkey.
Darling, these creatures aren't real.
Don't worry, this is part of the plan.
So, Tigger, what drew you to the project?
Well, it's like the role was written for me. I mean, stripes and all. Which is why I never read the script. Why mess with perfection? Just need a leap of faith.
Listen, I will call Dr. Cunningham on Monday. I think with the right amount of rest and make...
Tigger! Eeyore! Piglet!
My plan worked. I don't know how I do it.
Is Pooh our superhero in this?
He is! Yeah, with this little red chop on, is this instead of a cape?
Yeah, it's like a little red jumper cape.
Jumper cape,
Yeah.
jumper cape.
Christopher Robin is in American theaters today. When we come back, our friends at Plugged In Online share how this story measures up when it comes to family friendliness. The weekend is here, and as we mentioned, our friends at Plugged In Online have a family-friendly review of the movie we've been talking about, Christopher Robin. Take a look.
What should happen if you forget about me?
Silly old bear. I won't ever forget about you, Pooh. I promise. Not even when I'm 100.
In Disney's Christopher Robin, the young boy who loved embarking on adventures in the 100-acre wood with his band of spirited, lovable, stuffed animals has grown up. In fact, he's totally lost touch with those distant joys of childhood.
I promised my wife and daughter I'd take them away this weekend. All hands on deck.
And these days, Christopher is so wrapped up in the day-to-day grind of business that he's become estranged from his wife and his daughter, too.
Have a good time.
He has, quite simply, lost his way.
What to do, what to do, what to do. What to do indeed.
Pooh?
Christopher Robin.
Now it's up to his childhood friends to do something about that problem. Pooh, Tigger, Eeyore, and Piglet, they all venture into our world and search the streets of London for their pal. They hope to help Christopher Robin remember the loving and playful boy that he used to be.
Hello, Eeyore.
Christopher Robin, it's you playing again.
This live-action adventure talks of the specialness of childhood, the specialness of imaginative play and friendship.
Perhaps it's our turn to save Christopher.
And at the same time, it encourages adult viewers to think closely about those things in life that are truly important. On the other side of the scale, there's not much in this sweet movie that parents will need to worry about. I mean, heffalumps can be a little scary, and there's just a dash of peril in the story mix. But I'll give Christopher Robin a heartfelt 4.5 out of 5 for family friendliness. For the full review, be sure to check out PluggedIn.com. Plugging you into the movies, I'm Bob Olszewski for Focus on the Family's Plugged In Movie Review.
It's time now for your Friday Faithful, a message I'd like to leave you as we wrap this week and jumpstart the weekend. When you come to the end of your rope, you have reached the hand of God. Your impossible is I'm possible when God's hand is in it. With that word, I encourage you to make this a fabulous Friday and a wonderful rest of the week. No matter how little you think you have, guess what? It is all that you need to do what God has called you to do. Remember, at the end of your rope is the hand of God, and your impossible becomes impossible because God's hand is in it. It's a message you shouldn't forget as we begin the weekend, and I'll see you, of course, right back here next week. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, more of your exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about can always be found at cbnnews.com. We'd also love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. You can, of course, always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Have a fabulous Friday and a wonderful weekend.